going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great start to your new year. Also, don't forget, today is Bitcoin's birthday. Bitcoin is 14 years old. That's right. We had the Genesis block, and also on January 3rd, which is the time I'm making this video, it's also Proof of Keys Day. So if you still have your funds on exchanges, today is the day that you take those funds off and throw it on something like a Ledger or a Trezor or something like that. So I thought I would start with the good news, considering that we obviously have a lot going on right now for Bitcoin. Now, you could see that we tried to get up to that $16,800 level. We actually failed. We are coming back down to the bottom of this very boring sideways consolidation that we've been in for quite some time. Now, what is something we could blame that on specifically? Well, it could be the fact that the DXY is opening up the year in a bit of a pump. And actually, for some of you that don't know statistically, and you can Google this, out of the last 22 years for January, we actually have seen a pump in the DXY. So I don't know if we'll get it again this year. That's only a little bit higher than 0.5%, but it's a possibility. Nevertheless, you are having the stocks open up on this big red candle. Now, personally, I do think you are going to see some type of a bounce. I think this is faking some investors out in the beginning of the year. That's just my opinion. If we did get one, it would probably be short-lived, back up somewhere to this area right here. But, obviously there is something even bigger happening for Bitcoin, unfortunately, and I wish I did have better news, but that's the fact that we have this Genesis situation between Gemini and Digital Currency Group, really more specifically between the Winklevoss twins and Barry Silbert, escalating right now. And Cameron Winklevoss pretty much said to Barry, you need to fix this and make things right. And he gave him an ultimatum of January 8th or else. Now, I don't know what that means specifically, but I do know that that's only 5 days from now. So that could be something we need to pay attention to for Bitcoin, because even though I do believe the majority of the selling is over, the majority of the washout is done, there is still these possibilities of these smaller outliers that could still affect things. So that's what we're going to go into today. I love you guys. You're awesome. If you do appreciate this content, bull market, bear market, slap a like on the video. It does help to spread the video. Obviously, right now, crypto content is not exactly that popular. So a little like goes a long way, guys. So let's dive in. Let's have a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin. So, honestly, still in this boring pattern. I mean, we are technically in, a bit of a bear flag, right? We are, here's the flagpole, and here's us going sideways. And we know every other time, right, we've ever been in this, we have fallen to the downside. So does this mean that we are going to go down to some of these lower levels? To be honest, guys, I don't know if we're going to actually do it a fifth time. That would be pretty incredible. But again, we did not break above my level right here at around actually today. Well, it's a little higher today because it's sloping up. So 16,000, let's just say 16,800. I believe if we can get a nice retest, something like we did here, then I think we can, I might actually have to extend this because we're getting to the end of it. That could bring us up again around that $17,500 level. And, unless we're looking for just massive bankruptcy type selling, something with Genesis, I believe the majority of the selling is done. We've seen that the whales have basically stopped sending their funds to exchanges. They have slowed down. All the weak hands are gone. All the short-term speculation is basically gone at this point. So, we are clearly waiting for a catalyst to the upside, but I just don't think there's really more of a reason to see us dump to the downside unless it's just simply, some people need money, right? And they're just selling their Bitcoin. I mean, I'm not selling my Bitcoin at these levels. I don't really know anyone who is personally, unless, of course, you have to pay taxes or something like that. But for the most part, I believe the majority of it is over. And, if you did think that there were these other whales that did need to dump, they would want that liquidity. They would want to pump it first, right? Because smart money, what does it do? It sells into strength, right? And it buys into weakness, right? So it wouldn't make sense right now to sell this, push the price down any lower. But nevertheless, guys, on the bright side, we are above this first downward sloping trend. You can see we actually are still above it. And we're also holding above this critical area right here, which it's not the most critical area, but around that 16,567, you were seeing a lot of support, flipped resistance, etc., other way around. So what are we looking for in a nutshell? Break it down like a 5-year-old. Essentially, if we fall basically below where we are around this area right now around 16,567. Then our next target down here would be 16,264. And you don't want to fall lower than that because then you would fall back out of this structure and you would be down here again. I still do have a potential target, this green area right here, at around 17,600. And I wouldn't be surprised if we came up to that level, even just as a short-term fake out to provide that liquidity for the sellers. But most importantly, you can see right here, we are coming to the end of this apex. And as I said, there literally you can only push it to next week. That's it. After next week, which is, you're right here. I can't even draw on it. Right here, we're moving either to this side or to this side. It's going to be a very, very large move. And we have seen on the Bollinger Bands that we are the tightest we've been in quite a long time. Now, just to point out something, if you are looking historically, if you're ignoring the macro just for a second and you want to look at where we are, technically speaking, historically, we are in the area where Bitcoin should start to come out of the bottom. You can see in all the previous hype, disillusionment, and enlightenment cycles, like he points out, he says either we are going to enter the slope of enlightenment this year or the cyclical pattern is going to break. And for the first time ever in Bitcoin's history, we're not really going to follow the full 4-year cycle. Right now, as of right now, we are still on track. And even when I was on, if you guys, I know some of you came over from the Altcoin Daily channel when I was on there talking, what we were discussing was the fact that even though despite everything happening macro, crazy enough, Bitcoin is still doing its 4-year cycle. The question is, what's going to happen throughout 2023, especially if we continue to see the stocks getting hit? Because we have, this logarithmic growth curve that I'm sure you've seen, everybody show this chart. And, we've been following this pattern. Now, obviously, the slope is getting slower or getting less and less steep. And also the top up here is getting smaller and smaller. So we're obviously not getting as big of returns as we used to. And we're also not going as steep as we're starting to curve over like this, right? And at this point, if you look at the fact that we rode the curve here, we touched the curve here, we had the COVID crash right here, zooming in, guys, this candle, we're on the line right now. And you can even see right here, look at this. We wicked down right there and bounced off it, and we wicked down right there. So this is the do or die moment. It is. Now, do I believe that this is an amazing opportunity to buy Bitcoin? Absolutely not financial advice. You can do what you want. You guys can wait for 9,000, 10,000, whatever you want to wait for. Right now, according to this chart, this is the absolute best time to be buying Bitcoin historically. Could it go lower? Yes. But if we do go lower, we would be breaking pretty much a chart that's existed since the beginning of recorded Bitcoin price. Going back to the first candle here, July of 2010. So, Bitcoin technically existed before that, but Brave New Coin does not have any data on Bitcoin at that point. Another thing, just to point out some similarities, is if you look at what Will Clemente says, capitulation represented by net realized losses adjusted for the market cap is actually on par with prior macro Bitcoin bottoms. Major pain is being felt in the market. The majority of people who got in recently are down on their investments. And I don't have the chart pulled up right now, but the majority of people who have recently bought Bitcoin have sold for losses and are not here anymore. Most of them have left. They said, screw this crypto stuff. It's a giant scam, right? We've heard this before, right? And again, is crypto a scam? No. But do we need every single protocol? Do we need every single token? Do we need every single NFT? No, we don't need all these different projects, right? It's a lot of speculation. There is a lot of hype. I do believe that at the end of the day, we will have winners. There will be use cases. It's very difficult when you're having these hype cycles and you have all of that noise in the middle, right? Bitcoin, I think, is going to be around for our lifetime. I don't think it's going anywhere. Personally, that's my belief. I think Ethereum has a very good chance of being around. It could potentially be overshadowed by a competitor, possibly, potentially, but it does have that network effect going for it, right? And one thing before we move on super quick is there's always that talk of, Bitcoin is too slow. It can't do what Visa can do. Guys, understand Visa is centralized, right? It's all basically done on an IOU system. Bitcoin is actually done peer-to-peer on the blockchain. If you want to physically settle that in, and you, don't forget, when I send Bitcoin to you, it's not an IOU. You actually have that Bitcoin. So when people say, oh, it takes 10 minutes, fair enough. But when I Venmo you something, or I PayPal you something, or I swipe a credit card, there is no actual transfer of funds. It's just a glorified IOU. Basically, I swipe my card. They either are either it's a credit card where I'm basically just, charging credit, or if it's a debit card, all they're doing is just looking in your bank going, yeah, the number on the screen matches, K-Dub, he's good. He's got enough money to pay for these oranges, and then they just approve it. But there's no actual transaction happening in that time. So I'm just tired of this conversation that Bitcoin and Ethereum and these other things are too slow. But they're actually settling things for real. If you want to do the IOU system, open up a Lightning Network channel, right? You can now have your IOU system like everybody's used to using. And yes, you will have instant transactions. You will have Bitcoin instantly, but it'll be on the Lightning Network, right? The same way that it'll be in your bank account, right? But we know the money's not there. Everybody try to take your money out of the bank at the same time. It's not going to work, right? So I just... I'm honestly going on a tangent because, as the price gets lower, you start reading a lot of these articles and watching a lot of these videos about how all crypto is a scam. Most of it, maybe, I don't know, scam or just poorly designed projects, who knows? But this is something that is serious, okay? So a lot of people are comparing this to the 2008 financial crisis, right? The Lehman Brothers event, but for crypto. Now, we're not seeing that event in traditional finance, right? We're not seeing that. We're seeing something completely different. We're seeing the Fed coming down with the hammer, hawkish, raising the rates, saying inflation's out of control. We need to control this. This is our primary objective, and we don't care who is hurt in the process. That's not what we're seeing in crypto. As you can see right here, this is the letter, the open letter that Cameron Winklevoss wrote to Barry Silbert. Now, whereas these guys in traditional finance, right, they all got bailed out. Who's going to bail out crypto? No one. That's the problem. That's the problem, is when these bad actors go under, they go under for good. They drag a lot of people down with them, and no one comes in to save them. Has anyone come in to save the Celsius investors or the FTX traders or the Voyager investors trader? No, right? So that's what makes this different. But it's surviving Mt. Goxes. It's surviving FTXs. It's surviving an actual bear market. I mean, that is the ultimate moment, right? A true global bear market, watching crypto and Bitcoin come out of it, which I believe Bitcoin will survive this. That's my true, honest belief. I think that will be the moment of glory. But the moment of concern right now is this situation. So, in a nutshell, letter from Cameron to Barry after 6 weeks. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Your behavior is not only completely unacceptable, it is unconscionable. It is a game of chicken now. Any 3 earned creditors can coordinate on an involuntary petition for Chapter 11. So, coming over to, they broke it down over here on Blockworks. Basically, Gemini claims that Barry of the Digital Currency Group has yet to repay the $900 million that was lent in digital asset prime brokerage arms as part of the Gemini Earn program. I'm writing on behalf of more than 340,000 Earn users who are looking for answers, Winklevoss wrote. He claims that he attempted to engage with Silbert on multiple occasions, most recently on Christmas Day, but was met with silence or resistance. You continue to refuse to get into a room with us to hash out a resolution. You hide behind lawyers, investment bankers, and process. Your behavior is not only completely unacceptable, I've read this to you guys already. Genesis is owed $1.67 billion by Digital Currency Group, according to Winklevoss, who claims that Barry Silbert had been using this money to fuel greedy share buybacks, illiquid venture investments, and kamikaze grayscale net asset value trades that ballooned the fee-generating assets under management of Silbert's trust. Silbert has denied these claims. You can see right here. He says, "We did not borrow $1.67 billion from Genesis. DCG has never missed an interest payment to Genesis and is current on all loans outstanding. Next loan maturity is May 2023. DCG delivered to Genesis and your advisors a proposal on December 29th and has not received any response." So in the letter to investors, Silbert said that Genesis was owed $575 million by DCG and had to repay these funds by May 2023. The Wall Street Journal reported on November 22nd, in addition, a promissory note totaling $1.1 billion was also due by June of 2023. So Winklevoss asked him to publicly commit to working together to solve this problem. And if we go back here and we scroll down, you can see his response right here. He goes, "There you go again. Stop trying to pretend that you and DCG are innocent bystanders and had nothing to do with creating this mess. It's completely disingenuous. So how does DCG owe Genesis $1.675 billion if it didn't borrow the money? Oh, right, that promissory note." And then this is the kicker right here. "Will you or will you not commit to solving this by January 8th in a manner that treats the $1.1 billion promissory note as $1.1 billion? So what does this mean? Well, there was an update from Andrew that said we do not expect to see DCG or Genesis to meet the January 8th deadline. We expect a protracted legal battle, and we are prepared for one. So it appears that although possibly Gemini definitely may have mislabeled their program, and maybe put some shady things possibly in the terms of use, it does seem like maybe Barry was the one who was doing shady things. Of course, I don't know. I'm just as much of an outsider as you guys are. But as DB broke it down, so Gemini gave the money to Barry, Genesis, who then gave the money to Barry, Digital Currency Group, who then gave the money to Barry, Grayscale. Kind of sounds a lot like, FTX, SBF, Alameda, SBF. SBF gave the money to SBF. You see, we're seeing something very similar right here. And, if this was to have a bit of a collapse, if Grayscale is sold as part of a Chapter 11 process, that could lead to the closing of the GBTC discount via Regulation M. However, that would also reduce the free cash flow used to pay back Earn, the economic interest of two retail basis Gemini Earn and GBTC holders are at odds, sadly, as well as, of course, Genesis themselves. So this is what we were afraid of. This is what we were fearing. This could still happen. Now, this wouldn't really be considered a full-on black swan because we are anticipating it, or not anticipating it, suggesting it's a possibility. So maybe this is also why we're seeing hesitancy in the crypto markets right now, waiting to see what happens. Now, it is interesting because we obviously do have, PPI reports as well as the Fed minutes, which is where they're going to discuss basically how hawkish I doubt they're dovish. They're saying they're remaining pretty hard when it comes to raising the rates. So there's a lot of people also speculating that maybe we may get some bad news, starting off the year, and that, they won't look to back down. They won't look to pivot. So there's that on top of the fact that we've basically had the massive exodus of cleansing from crypto. It's definitely one of those times that is necessary, but it certainly is crazy to live through it. Now, it's not all terrible. I do have, something we can talk about here. The UK is enforcing a tax exemption for foreign investors purchasing crypto through local investment managers or brokers. The tax break announced in December is part of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's plan to turn the UK into a crypto hub. So there you go. You still have people attempting to, bring crypto to the forefront. This exemption is an important factor in attracting global investors, meaning foreign investors won't be brought into UK tax simply by appointing UK-based investment managers. And, just kind of talking about what are some things we can look for. What are some just macro clues just for the world in general, right? Well, Tom Essay, he's founder of Sevens Report Research, he's basically looking at three things. The easing of lockdowns in China, inflation peaks, which it looks like it may have already peaked temporarily, right? And the Federal Reserve hits peak hawkishness, which means, that's it. Now we're going to reverse and start pivoting. And of course, declining geopolitical tensions. None of these indicators have been achieved yet, but he thinks that process is being made. So specifically, China needs to see COVID cases drop and Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, right? We have that in the US as well, break 50 before the market turns around. We also obviously have the Fed. They're going to meet at the end of the month, and markets are increasingly confident that slowing inflation and gains in the jobs market will push the central bankers to opt for a 25 basis point hike. But keep in mind, even though they're coming down, they are still hiking, right? So they're still going up. And inflation, even though it is coming down, you have to understand that it's still going up because those numbers represent going up, right? So even if you go from 8 to 7, or whatever number, just arbitrary, yes, you're down 1%, but you're still increasing by 7%. You see what I'm saying? So it's still got a long way to go. But I do believe that, this is a very good time to start accumulating or not. I don't know. You could just sit on cash forever and maybe you'll perfectly buy the bottom. But I don't know anyone that's really ever done that. And anyone who says they have, they're pretty much lying. And then he says he's also waiting for oil and other commodities to get back to pre-Russia and Ukraine war levels to prove global tensions and having de-escalated. So that's about it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. That's what we're looking at. We do have that issue. There are still some things on the horizon that are keeping the global markets down. Bitcoin is being unfortunately treated like a risky asset. And because of what's been going on with FTX, Genesis, the crypto contagion, there's been a lot of sort of like loss of belief in the space, I guess, distrust in the space. And it's unfortunate, but it's all part of the growing pains of, a nascent industry that's pretty brand new still. I mean, I've heard people, literally it's Bitcoin's birthday. It's 14 years old, right? And I've heard people say it's just completely failed in 14 years. Guys, 14 years is not that long of a time when you think about, imagine the first automobile and then 14 years later, right? Just think about technology. These curves take a while. I mean, look how long the internet took to truly catch on, right? Depending on where you where you look at it. You can go all the way back to DARPA if you want. But, look at TCP/IP. TCP/IP is very primitive, right? But look at the internet built on top of it. I mean, you're probably watching me on your phone right now, via Wi-Fi or some cellular network, right? Which is then connected to the HTTPS, hypertext protocol, which is then on top of, right? I'm oversimplifying it. I don't know anything about tech, but you know what I'm saying. So that's why I say, guys, when it comes to Bitcoin, understand that the base layer works, and that's the most important part about it. They can build on top of it. You can build, on Lightning. You can do all these secondary, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th layers, whatever you want. But the base layer works, and that's the most important part. So if you guys appreciate this type of video, even in this, sort of bearish, terrible sentiment of time, definitely slap a like. And of course, guys, remember, do get a ledger. It is Proof of Keys Day, so if you were ever going to buy one, check out the links below if you guys want. And also, take advantage of these bonuses. There's 18,000 for BitGet. Eventually, we'll start moving. We'll be able to start trading. But in the meantime, I would highly recommend setting up an account. Check the tutorial above. It's the best one on the internet. I will fully stand behind that. And practice with some fake money. Practice with because they give you fake tokens on the demo account. Practice with it, That way, we're playing a range. You can kind of hone in. And then once we start getting some moves, I'll let you guys know what I'm looking at specifically. And hopefully, we can start making some damn money again. Because I'm tired of sitting here. It's been a very long time going sideways. You could try to play the 1% to 2%, but the only way you're really going to win big on that is with big leverage, which then in that turn is quite risky, right? Which I do not recommend high leverage on my channel. I will not tell you to use high leverage. It's just very irresponsible. So that being said, guys, I love you. Thank you for your patience. Happy New Year again. Drop a like if you appreciate this content. Make sure you guys get subscribed, not only to this channel, but follow me on all my other socials. I do post there occasionally on Twitter. I was supposed to be in Miami today, actually, for this week, but I pulled my lower back, unfortunately. So, I was not really in the mood to be in pain in Miami, although I wish I was in Miami because right now it is literally ugly, rainy day over here for the next 5 days in New York. So, kind of matches the vibe of the crypto space a little bit, but maybe I'll see you guys in Miami in a few weeks or something like that. Just got to get a little bit better, but I love you guys. You're awesome. Be safe out there. I will see you tomorrow, and that's about it for me. So stay safe. Make sure you guys check out this tutorial if you haven't yet, and until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.